I understand.
Okay.
Thank you, Sergeant. I can't be sitting on the floor.
You better hit that again, man.
We're not supposed to stand yet?
Not yet. We're going to call to order here. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the Merrillville Town Council meeting for today, which is Tuesday, July 11th at 6:30. Please stand for our invocation and remain standing for a moment of silence.
Let's pray. Oh God, our Father, thank you for the privilege of meeting tonight. Thank you for the men and women gathered in this room to look forward to that which is best for our community. Father, we pray for wisdom and knowledge. We pray for our families and for our children. We pray, Father, for those who need extra help. Father, would you continue to use us as individuals and as a community of people to seek that which is best. But again, we thank you and pray for that wisdom. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Mr. Hardaway, would you lead us in the pledge tonight?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk Treasurer, would you call the roll, please?
Certainly.
This goes with this.
Good evening, Councilwoman Neal.
Good evening here.
Good evening, Councilman Hardaway.
Here.
Good evening, Councilman Minchuk.
Here.
Good evening, Councilwoman Uzelak.
Here.
Good evening, Councilman Pettit.
Here.
Good evening, Councilman White.
Here.
Good evening, President Bello.
Good evening, Kelly. How are you tonight?
Great. All 7 are present.
All 7 are present. Thank you. Moving on tonight to petitions, communications, acknowledgments, and remonstrations. We have the swearing in of Councilwoman Rhonda Neal, representing Ward 1. So I call on the judge to come forward, please, as well as our clerk treasurer, Kelly White Gibson, to do the honors. And please step to the front.
Raise your right hand, please. All right, would you please repeat after me? I state your name.
Rhonda Neal,
Solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States of America
the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana.
and that you will
I will
faithfully,
faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and honestly
and honestly
discharge my duties
discharge my duties
As the Councilwoman for the town of Merrillville, Indiana,
as the Councilwoman for the town of Merrillville, Indiana,
according to the law
according to the law
and the best of my ability and skill.
and the best of my ability and skill.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Rhonda.
I'll take this. Yep.
Congratulations again.
Moving on tonight, we have the parade winner and also special mentions. Mr. Hardaway.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy. A lot of stuff here. First, I'd like to say that we had a great parade this year. I think we had over 45 entries. And one of the things that we did this year was we got our judges a little different this year than we ever did before. So the first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to recognize the judges because I understand you guys just kind of like was coming to the parade and unfortunately you got a job out of it. But the town appreciates that. We'd like to thank you very much for that. So we have a little gift card for each one of you. We'll start with Marissa Clark. Thank you very much. Yeah, you can just. And then, what is this, Michaela Clark? Thank you very much. And we're not going to do the last name, Craig. We're just going to call you Craig. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Good. Did you get a picture? Okay. What? Oh, okay. All right, and then next we would like to recognize, let's start from the back and go forward. So we would like to recognize for your outstanding performance in the town of Merrillville's 4th of July parade, the Pierce Cheerleading Group.
Nice.
Okay, how about going stand out there? So, yeah. Thank you. She's right there. She got you. And then next, it would be for your outstanding performance in the town of Merrillville's 4th of July parade, the Merrillville High School Cheering Group. Thank you. And finally, you guys did a great job at the parade. And finally, for honorable mentions is the Descent of the Holy Christ, the float winner in the town of Merrillville 4th of July parade. And finally, the moment that we've all been waiting for, this year, overall winner in the town of Merrillville's 4th of July parade. They did an outstanding job, the Party Chasers. Great balloons, you get that, and then we have a nice little plaque for you that says the town of Merrillville 2023 4th of July parade, best entry winner overall. Congratulations. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate it. Have a good evening. Thank you. That concludes that, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Hardaway. Moving on this evening to the consent agenda, we have the accounts payable voucher approval for July 11th, as well as the town council meeting minutes of June 27th. Mrs. Neal?
Motion to approve.
Second.
You have a motion by Mrs. Neal with a second by Mr. Pettit. That was your first official motion, Mrs. Neal. Welcome. I'm sure there'll be many more, right? Open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Moving on to standing and special committees, Budget and Finance, Mr. Hardaway.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Council Affairs, Mr. Pettit.
No report.
Street Department, Mr. Minchuk.
Nothing at this time.
Elections, Public Relations, and Town Beautification, Mr. Pettit.
No report.
Did you guys work in the last 2 weeks at all?
No.
I was a little busy.
Yeah, okay. Environmental Affairs, Mr. White.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have a small report here.
Great.
I wanted to follow back up with hadn't had a chance to talk to the fire chief. I wanted to find out where we stand with the testing of the mold at the Hickory Ridge apartment complex. Since it's pretty close to me, I see they're doing a good job over there trying to get it together.
Yes, they are.
So I would like, at the next council meeting, to see if we can get some type of, excuse me, so if we can get some type of verification of how quickly they're dealing with the mold. I think Chief will probably talk to you a little bit later on some things, because some things I see on Facebook about people kicking in doors and stuff, even though that don't have anything to do with my report. The fact is that if people are kicking in those doors, then we don't know if there's mold in that apartment. So if they want to go ahead and be criminals and get moldized, there it is. Secondly, thank you, Mr. Secondly, welcome Ms. Neal to Environmental Affairs. I am the chairman, and I look forward to working with you real soon. That's it, Mr. President.
Thank you. Personnel, Policy, and Employee Benefits, Mr. Hardaway.
No report.
Public Safety, Mr. Minchuk.
Yes, public safety's been very busy the last couple of weeks. Last week, we conducted interviews for our new police chief. We had 3 candidates. All 3 candidates gave very good interviews. We were very impressed with all 3 of them. After the interviews were completed, we did include the police commission during the interview process. We asked the commission to submit a recommendation to the council just to be reviewed by the council as the council makes their decision. The commission did submit that to myself. The recommendation they made was for Officer Nusis to be the new chief of the police department. At this time, I would like to accept that recommendation, as well as the council make Officer Nusis our new police chief, our permanent police chief, and have him sworn in at the next meeting. That's my motion.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Minchuk with a second by Mr. Hardaway to accept the recommendation of the Police Commission to appoint Chief Nusis as the permanent chief. Is that correct, Mr. Svetnov?
Correct.
Open for discussion.
As long as you're available next week, Judge?
2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. Sounds great. Thank you, sir.
Hearing no other discussion, Madam Clerk Treasurer, let's call the roll, please.
Sure. Councilwoman Neal,
Yes.
Councilman Hardaway,
Yes.
Councilman Minchuk,
Yes.
Councilwoman Uzelak,
Yes.
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilman White,
Yes.
and President Bella.
Aye.
7 in favor.
7 in favor, motion carries, Mr. Minchuk.
Congratulations, Costa.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Other than that, we did have a meeting just prior to tonight's meeting here. Went over several topics with the police and the fire department of how we can increase numbers, increase programs, increase all kinds of things. Everything is just in discussion mode at this point. Once we come to any kind of a conclusion, we will definitely report back to the rest of the council.
Thank you. Moving on to Economic Development, Mr. Pettit.
Yes, Mr. President. Later on in the agenda, we have a resolution for real property tax incentives at Ameriplex at the Crossroads for holiday properties. And I believe, ironically, this is right next door to Mr. Svetinov's office on 98th Avenue. So we will hear that resolution. And I do want to indulge the public. I apologize for my absence 2 weeks ago. I had a family emergency that most of you know about, so my committees will get back in the swing of things.
Yes, sir. Parks and Recreations, Mrs. Uselak.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I made a call to the chief, I think it was a week and a half ago, about Rosenbaum Park. Some malicious person went in there and did a vicious act of cutting up the floor, the new floor that we had put in. It's rubberized flooring, and they threw it on top of our gazebo, which is brand new, the roof. So I made the report. Torrance was kind enough to send somebody out there. Chief did tell me that he tried to have a policeman out there watching that area. It was just a year ago, last summer, somebody actually sawed down a swing, and that was a new swing. So we're trying to take care of our parks. They're brand new, and they are in beautiful shape. And anybody that wants to do something like that, it's not right. So I thank you, Chief, and I hope the police do stay out there and watch all of our parks in Merrillville, especially Rosenbaum.
Will do.
That's all I have right now.
Thank you, Mrs. Uselak.
Sure.
Moving on to abandoned and blighted properties, Mr. Hardaway.
No report, Mr. President.
Dean and Barbara White Community Center, Mr. Pettit.
Yes, Mr. President, as I reported, I'd like to get back, Jeff and Leonard, back into our fourth Thursday meeting. Let's check the July calendar, Torrance, and see if we can put that together. Pat, I'll talk to Linda about that.
Thank you. Special projects, Mr. Hardaway.
Thank you, Mr. President. A couple things there. First, again, I'd like to reemphasize the fact that we had great fireworks on July the 3rd. They started right around 9 o'clock once it got dark. And we appreciate all of the Merrillville residents and the surrounding areas for coming out. Would you estimate over 1,000 cars that were out that are in attendance there? So we had a great crowd out, even with the condensed parking area that we had. And secondly, the parade on the 4th was a great event again, as usual. I'd like to thank the Parks Department for their participation and Mrs. Shine for her participation in helping us facilitate the parade on the 4th. And the next event is the job fair, which is going to be on July 27th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Dean and Barbara White Community Center. So anyone that's looking for employment, that's a great opportunity, or any businesses that are looking for employees, that's another great opportunity for you to come out and present what you have to offer the community and find you hopefully a great employee with longevity. And also the first Tuesday in August will be National Night Out. More details are forthcoming at our next council meeting. I'll have more details, but we would like to make sure that the entire community comes out and supports National Night Out. There was some confusion last year, and I hope to clear up that confusion this year, because each ward will be represented with a area where the residents from that Ward 1 residents will be able to sit in a designated area for Ward 1 and have a conversation with their council person and so forth and so on. So last year, that was kind of like, didn't go the way that we had planned it, but we would like to make sure that this year that that's how we do it. We had signs made up last year. We'll have those same signs again and encourage people to go to their designated wards. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Reardon, how many companies do we have interested now in coming to the job fair?
Presently 52.
Wow.
Some big names include Amazon, both county casinos, Horseshoe, and I apologize.
Hard Rock?
Thank you. And out of Hammond, also Lear Seating. So we're getting a lot of our normal companies, which is great, our regular companies, but we're having these new entrants as well. So we expect to fill the facility capacity, and we're looking for that approximate 800 plus in attendance in that 4-hour period.
That's great. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
Moving on to department and commission reports, Lake County Solid Waste Management District, Mr. White is our representative.
No report, Mr. President.
Northern Indiana Regional Planning Commission, otherwise known as NERPC, Mr. Hardaway.
Our next meeting is next week.
Okay. Stormwater Management Resources, Director Matt Lake.
Yeah, real quick. Golf Construction is going to be remobilizing in the next week and a half, finish the Kaiser Ditch lateral project. They got stuck in another job for a while, so they'll be back and they'll finish that up and they'll be done with that particular project. We're also going to be requesting quotes for the Turkey Creek risk tree removal project. Same thing we did in Meadowdale, Meadowland, but this will be for Turkey Creek. So we'll do it in a series of phases, and I think it'll make a world of difference out in that area. We're also reviewing proposals for complete engineering for all the drainage for Independence Hill 3rd Edition, as well as Country Club subdivision, which is south of 61st Avenue. Reichelt is almost done with 101st and Clay Street. We got a little bit of ditch clearing to do on the west side of Clay Street, so wanted to extend that out a little bit farther, make sure that water gets away and doesn't overtop Clay Street. So it's a dramatic improvement. So I don't think we'll have much road closures out in that area in the future. Also, I want to thank Chris Bynum and his volunteers. They did it again. We own a part of the pond behind Gino's. We had it grubbed out a little bit, and then a lot of trash and debris was exposed after we did that. So they cleaned everything up, put it in garbage bags. I guess I would ask street department, maybe they can help us out and discard the bags of trash that are there after the cleanup. But just want to thank him for his citizen activity and his volunteers. And also, in partnership with the Lake County Parks, we received a U.S. Forest Service grant. I'll give you more details in the future, but we're planning something big with trees in the town. So.
Great, thank you, Matt.
Mr. President.
Mr. White.
This is for Matt. Matt, can you give us an update on the Hickory Ridge pumping station?
Yeah, the Little Calumet River Basin Development Commission, they're going to be at their next meeting approving our half of the cost of that, which is close to $1 million. We've got another submittal into Mervan's office, Congressman Mervan's office, for the other half that would fulfill the entire financing of the project. Plans are done, obviously. Permitting's all done. We're shovel ready. We're ready to go.
Thank you. Additionally, I had some questions. The community called me about that pond over in Barkley Village. I do understand that we had took over ponds, but is that one of them that we?
That one is not in our inventory at this time.
Sure. Oh, well, here's what needs to happen. It's unsafe, specifically for kids. Looking at the slope of a kid chasing basketball down in that area, then he's going in the water. I don't know how deep that water is, but I did get some complaints about it, so I would like to talk to you sometime this week to see if there's something we can do. We just can't let it just not be anything for us. I do know at one time it was on tax roll. Is that correct? A
lot of them have been. One of the things, those older ponds don't have safety ledges and all the provisions that we have today. We have been taking advantage of contractors to where if they need to put clean fill somewhere, maybe we do a redesign and go into there and retrofit something like a safety ledge so it's not straight into the water. So it kind of goes down and then out and then down.
Great.
But yes.
And I will talk to you a little bit more about that. I just wanted to have some kind of answer for some of the residents there that have been asking me about it, because it's kind of like weedy kids. One guy says, you got this one kid on the block just like to be adventurous, for a better lack of words. So I will give you a call. Thank you, sir.
And wintertime's very dangerous too with the ice and all that. That's
yes.
Another aspect of things people don't realize when, you have
ice get thin, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I have a question for
Sure.
you, Matt.
Go
I
ahead.
talked to Joe Fish. I couldn't get a hold of you that day. I've had a few constituents in the 4th Ward call me about the machinery that's by Rosenbaum Park.
Yeah.
From what I understand, you're waiting for approval from NIPSCO before you could move that?
There was two gas lines that have to be relocated. That was the first thing I mentioned was golf construction. So they're going to be remobilizing in about a week and a half. Get out there, they'll finish it all up, and they'll be done with that project, and the equipment will be out of there, so.
Oh, and what about Kaiser Ditch? You're doing a final cleanup?
It's Kaiser Ditch lateral. It's the crossings. We're replacing all the crossings.
Oh,
So all crossings are in, so we just have to extend on the ends, and when we're extending out, there's a few gas lines in the way, so that's all.
Isn't the county supposed to be involved with you on that too?
That's a lateral to Kaiser Ditch. That's an actually Kaiser Ditch, so it's a non-regulated tributary to Kaiser Ditch.
Okay.
So it's not a regulated drain.
Oh, thank you. I was curious about
Yep.
that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Matt. South Shore Visitors and Convention Authority, Mr. Reardon.
Thank you, sir. We continue with our assessment of possible potential recommended sites for a county convention center. I recall that assessment should be completed within the next 6 to 8 weeks and then be reported back to the organization. We're doing that in tandem with the RDA, while the RDA is redoing their study from several years ago, and I will continue to keep the council apprised of that. I'll be sharing with the council the schedule of events here in the county, and we have our next board meeting Thursday of next week. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Fire Territory Board, Mr. Minchuk.
They have a meeting scheduled on the 27th at 3:30. Councilwoman Neal, you'll be invited to that as well. They just changed it, so it's now the 27th at 3:30.
I was going to make a motion, Mr. President, that we replace Councilman Span with Councilwoman Neal in that spot, because I think that was one of the things that was really near and dear to Councilman Span, was the fire territory.
Motion by Mr. Hardaway, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Minchuk to appoint Mrs. Neal as the representative from the town council on the Fire Territory Board, replacing Mr. Span, the late Mr. Span. Questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, Mr. Hardaway.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mrs. Neal.
Mr. President,
Councilman White.
according to the Redevelopment Authority, there is an appointment that's open for Don Span's former position. I think it expires 12/31/23. He's the vice president of that. I'd like to, for the town council, to appoint Ms. Neal to finish his position as vice president of the Redevelopment Authority.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Mr. White, second by Mr. Pettit. To appoint Mrs. Neal as the redevelopment.
Vice president.
I think the membership has to select an officer. We don't really appoint to a position, Leonard. We appoint a member, and then the members can elect their officers. So the vacancy doesn't vacate the vice presidency, it vacates the membership.
Yeah.
Is that right, Mr. Svetnov?
Well, actually, the town council makes that appointment, and that was my motion for the vice president.
Well, I don't think the motion is accurate, is my point, or is proper.
Second.
Well,
Yeah, it's a membership. We're going to fill Don's slot, but as Rick alluded to, when the Redevelopment Authority meets the first of the year, just like the RDC and the Planning Commission and the BZA, they elect their officers at their first meeting.
Absolutely.
If there's a vacancy, they're going to select a person to fill that, vice president.
Well, there's a vacancy now, and it doesn't expire until 12/31, so next year doesn't count. What happens is it count now, and I'm asking the council to take that vote. I made the motion, and Mr.
That's fine, yeah.
Second, it's simple.
Yeah.
It's not that big of an issue.
Fine, okay.
Okay.
As long as attorney agrees with it.
Attorney agrees with it.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to department reports. Torrance Price, Parks and Recreation.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. President. We were able to keep up with our trash pickup as we had planned for after the 4th. It's a pretty heavy load, but we're grateful for our staff who's really worked hard. One thing we need to report, we have contacted Bruce Brown about concerns with the Prusen Bridge that possibly is given out due to some wear and tear, and also some things along that trail.
Thank you, Terrence. Chief Nusis, Police Department.
Thank you. I just wanted to bring it up, and I know I've said it numerous times in the past, but it seems to keep happening. Beware of scams. They're at it again. They're coming around proposing home, or estimates rather, for your home, and they're charging people $100 or $200 and promising that they're going to get them some elaborate amount of money to get some type of home repairs or updates done, and they're just leaving with that money. So do not give anybody money. Do not give anybody money until the job is completed, and even then I would go by a contract. The other thing that seems to be happening again is the phone calls. They are calling people, they are telling them that a loved one's in trouble and they need money, or somebody has been arrested and they need money to get them out of jail, or they're identifying as the sheriff or the police officers, and they're requesting money, and people are getting scammed out of money. And they seem to be targeting the elderly, and it just continues. And we're trying whatever we can, but a lot of these calls aren't even coming from this country. They're coming from other countries. They're using AI and whatnot. So do not give anybody money. The other thing I wanted to talk about is we posted on our Facebook page, we're going to be participating in the Speeding Slows You Down campaign. It's a grant that's been paid for by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. It's going to be from July 10th through the 31st. I don't know their exact dates, but it's going to be sometime between that time frame. And what's going to be happening is you're going to see Merrillville police officers along with other neighboring agencies participating in what's going to be called a speed blitz. So they're going to be stopping vehicles, enforcing traffic. So just be on the lookout, and just reminding everybody to watch your speed. And that's all I have for today, sir.
Mr. President.
Mr. White.
This question is for Mr. Costas. I think you and I, Mr. Costas, without saying any names, when you said that there were some young people that were kicking doors open over in the Hickory Hills, could you elaborate a little bit on that, or is that appropriate?
Hickory Ridge, there were just some younger, we were having incidents in some of the vacant areas of Hickory Ridge apartments. There were some younger kids that were kicking in doors and destroying property. We did get in contact with, we got their names, and we're processing it through the juvenile court system, if it goes even that far. One of the other issues that we're having at Hickory Ridge is people squatting in the vacant buildings right now. So I've been speaking with the potential new owners to see what they can do about getting those boarded up so nobody can get into them.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Shine, Planning and Building Department.
Yes, I do have one thing. We are still going forth with our comprehensive plan, and there were a couple articles in the newspaper about the comprehensive plan, but we're still looking for members of our community momentum. The first meeting will be July 19th at 5:30 p.m. at the Dean and Barbara White Center. So if still time to sign up, we're looking for people to partner with the town to make Merrillville a wonderful place to live for the next 20 years. And that's my report.
I know that Mr. Berger is not in the audience tonight. I don't see him, but could you please update us on the vacation of the street that he's been complaining about? I know we've made some great headway between Matt and you and Mr. Reardon.
So what had happened with that street was the GIS people fly over and they take pictures. And unfortunately, Mr. Berger has open-ended driveway where you can go out on Massachusetts Street, right, Matt? And then you can go out on Broadway. It was never recorded at the Lake County Recorder's Office. If you go to the Lake County Recorder's Office, all of that property belongs to him. It was never recorded as a street. The GIS picked it up as a street. Therefore, many maps picked it up as a street. What happened was Matt Lake went in to edit to the GIS. He went in and he edited it. I don't know, Matt, how long it takes for them to get that straightened out, but as far as what the county says, and he has, there's a platter survey on file at the county, and there's also on the county GIS. It is all of his property. It has never been a street there. And so that's unfortunately what happened with Mr. Berger's property.
I think Matt reached out to Google and got that fixed, right, Matt?
Yeah, there's several mapping programs and software out there. So the first thing I did is I went on Google Maps, requested a correction that they delete that out. It went through their system, they replied back, and ended up deleting it on Google Maps. Then I went into the ESRI or ESRI website. They didn't allow a deletion, but I modified it to where it's a private gravel one-way road. So it's so undesirable that no one would ever go down it for that purpose. And then I submitted to Apple Maps as well. Still waiting to hear back on that change. And I think if we get a hold of Amazon Dispatch, they may help out as well. You know,
I did put in a call to Amazon because I think that was Mr. Berger's major complaint, was that the Amazon trucks was going through there, and I did put in a call to Amazon to make sure that they take that off of their route. The lady she told me she was, but she's going to get back with me with something a little formal, Mr. President, so we can have it in our files.
Okay. Anything else to add, Mr. Pettit?
Obviously, being the councilman for 20 years, this is the first time this has popped up. I've had long conversations with Joe. I've known Joe a long, long time. It's somewhat surprising that this has come up. Everything Matt and Sheila has said is absolutely correct. These are unique lots because they have what we call double frontage from Broadway to Massachusetts Street. And there are lots south of Joe. There's a couple lots north of Joe. Joe did a nice job of improving the drive. Unfortunately, he made it an attractive nuisance. Yeah. You know, he's his own worst enemy, quite frankly. If he would have put up concrete blocks at the end of his lot up to Massachusetts, people wouldn't go through there. It's private property, and I got to stress, town employees cannot go on private property, correct, Mr. Svetnov?
Correct.
Okay, so it's not a public right-of-way. He did a nice job of improving it years and years ago.
Good. Okay.
And so I'm in constant contact with Joe. Joe texts me probably once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, so we stay in touch. And we're trying to work on the property to the north. Sheila and I had a meeting with the new owner. We still need to work on that, Sheila, to get that property cleaned up. It has been an eyesore. That's one of Joe's big contentions that we continue to work on. So we'll stay in touch with Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Pettit. So, Kelly, do you think it'd be okay if we take just this section of the meeting and type up the minutes verbatim so we can actually send them to Mr. Berger so he knows we discussed it? We're making great progress on his issue, and we can move forward.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Street Department, Mr. King.
So a couple of quick things. We've been very busy. Assistance with the fireworks on the 3rd of July, also assisting with the parade, you know, keeping the route clean, helping work with the PD on keeping the roads blocked so everybody was safe during the parade. Our department is out all over town. We're hot patching, we're crack sealing, we're busy maintaining the town-owned properties. One thing I do want to mention, our branch pickup program. We get several calls a day about picking up branches. The newsletter, we have a newsletter that was sent out to all residents. It's also on the website. We pick up branches twice a year, once in the spring, end of April, early May, and then we'll be back in October. The reason why we do that and don't do it all year long, you know, we're a department of 25 people trying to cater to 36,000 residents. So, I mean, we could pick up branches every day, all year long. We just don't have the people to do it. We do have a facility on the north end of town at 5750 Tyler. Residents are more than welcome to bring those branches there. We don't have the manpower or the time to pick up branches every single day. If we did, we wouldn't be able to replace sidewalks like we're doing or doing our asphalt paving that we're doing or maintaining the town-owned properties that we need to do. So just want to throw that out there to the residents. I mean, we do the best we can with what we have, but it's an unrealistic goal for us to pick up the branches all year long. So I just want to kind of mention that in this meeting. But other than that, that's all I have.
Mr. President, I have two things for Steve. Actually, one's for Steve and Matt. 101st and Clay, guys. Steve, I think you said that once this drainage project's done, we're going to be resurfacing Clay Street, right? And around the corner there?
Correct.
So that'll be done.
Yep.
Secondly, I hear what you're saying, Steve. You and I have had this conversation. I've had this conversation with Bruce Byers and other public works directors. I thought we had a policy on storm damage when we've had things go through like we just had, because I've gotten 2 calls from people in Chapel Manor, senior citizens. This is our problem, guys. Those senior citizens can't get that stuff to the North Barn, Steve. They can't get it to your place. So either we need to reevaluate this, or we need to look at maybe someone else, a subcontractor, while you guys are out doing your stuff, have a subcontractor that's coming through on storm damage. And if we get calls from seniors, there's no way. I saw the branch on Virginia Place that the lady called me about. There's no way she's going to get it there or have somebody, and she didn't ask for the storm, but now she's got to pay $100 or $200 or $300 to have somebody cut that thing up and get it out of there. It doesn't necessarily seem right. And again, I've had this discussion. Steve, you're not the first public works director, and you probably, hopefully you won't be the last, but it's just, we got to do something, because otherwise it's just going to sit at the, at the curbside, and it's going to kill the grass. I mean, I had it in Chapel Manor in the spring too. They went through and they did a bunch of work. NIPSCO did a bunch of work, and they laid it in people's front yard, and I'm getting calls from people saying, "You're killing my grass. When's NIPSCO coming back for this?" Right?
Let's add this
You
to
saw
our,
that on 78.
Yeah, so, yeah, we did see that on, I mean, so if you want us to pick them up, and we did that, last time we had to work, we worked like 4 Saturdays.
Well, what I would
trying to get
recommend,
caught up
Mr.
on this
President,
stuff,
we make this a workshop item, and let's all.
We'll do whatever.
Reevaluate this.
We will.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to add to the branch conversation, because I have calls saying we got branches, but what people did was cut down trees for themselves.
Yeah,
And
it's
they-
not storm damage, right? Yeah, that's the other problem.
That's
It's different.
And they
Well,
left
I
the
have
trunk.
to agree with Sean. I had about 8 calls after the storm. As a matter of fact, I
Point
was
of order.
talking to Steve tonight about it.
I'm gonna let you go with that
Oh,
one.
I'm sorry. I thought you were through, Leonard. You still talking?
I'm still talking.
Oh, go on, Leonard. I'm so sorry.
I thought you were finished, Mr. White. Go ahead.
I did too.
Okay, as I was saying, that some of those tree trunks are still left on the lawn of people cutting trees down, and then they try to put the branch part on the curves, but they're leaving it. So anyway, if you get anybody that has trees being cut down, you need to tell your contractor to take all of that.
Yeah.
Because what it does, I'll call Steve, and then Steve said, I went out there and they, so I just wanted to put that, and thank you, Marge, for giving me an opportunity to get back in the. Okay. Thank you. That's it, Mr. President.
I had a conversation with Steve when I came in tonight, and I had a few calls which he does know about, and it was definitely after the storm. So I think Sean's got a good point here. We should have maybe some type of workshop, try to get a subcontractor or
I don't know.
somebody that just wants to pick up leaves and branches and whatever. But I agree with Sean, and it's just my opinion at this time.
Thank you. Steve, can you elaborate a little bit? I understand we have our speed humps installed in the Foxmore subdivision.
Yeah, so Foxmore subdivision, we had our first set of speed humps installed. They're on Wright Street. They've been strategically placed, so if you try to meander your way through the subdivision and think you're not going to hit them, you're sadly mistaken. The side streets you're going to come off of, you eventually have to get into Wright Street, and you're going to hit a speed hump. I've been out there several times. Seems to be working. Most residents are happy. Some are not. Some feel they're being inconvenienced by that. We're just trying to make the whole town safer for everybody. I mean, it's going to be an inconvenience no matter what, but it does slow people down, and I think people they'll get used to them. So,
Okay.
but so far they've been in there they've been in there probably 2 weeks, and they've worked out well so far.
Good.
Mr.
Well,
President?
we definitely need it on Whitcomb Street too.
Yeah.
So maybe, how do we
Well,
do this
it,
now?
it's only gonna go in it's only residential. It's not,
Yes.
we're not gonna put them on Waco.
Okay, are we working with you, Steve, on it, or?
Yes.
The council?
Give
Yeah.
your location
Yeah.
ideas to Steve
Oh, that's
to review,
very
and then
good.
also
I've got a few already.
Chief Newsis will review the location.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. White?
Yes, this is for Pat. Pat, if you can have Miss Vicki Burnell, I believe that's her name, the head of the code enforcement, to come to these meetings, because there's some things I want to say, and I can't say them if she's not here. And I noticed that she's been absent quite a few times. So, can you take care of that, Mr. Pat?
Certainly.
Certainly, sure.
And, well, you know that code enforcement is now under the Code enforcement is now under the jurisdiction of the police department. So you have Chief Newsis sitting here. Chief?
Is Vicki the director still?
I'm not quite sure.
Yes, of course she is.
Yes.
Okay, that's why we
yes.
need her here. She's a
Okay,
department
that's
head.
fine.
Okay.
I'll follow up. Thank you.
Thank you. That's it.
All right, moving on tonight to general orders. We have a first reading ordinance 23-18. It's the ordinance of the town of Merrillville adjusting a pay for employees. Specifically, in planning and building, we are adding the position of special service officer to be paid from that department, which is actually our animal control officer.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pettit. Chair recognizes Mrs. Uselak as the second. Open for discussion.
They gotta put money in there.
Hearing none. Madam Clerk Treasurer, roll call, please.
Mrs. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Hardaway?
Yes.
Mr. Minchuk?
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Aye.
Mr. Bella?
Aye.
7 in favor.
7 ayes, the motion carries.
Mr. President, is there any need to Kelly or to Pat, is there any need to read this on second reading, since I think she's already on staff, isn't she?
She is. It would actually help the payroll department, I believe, in Kelly's office and paying her from the proper accounts.
Actually, I think, I believe this is an appropriation, Joe, isn't it? And I think
We have to
because
wait
of that,
the
we have to wait.
publication?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm,
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on then to second reading ordinances, ordinance 23-16. It's another ordinance amending the salary ordinance of the town of Merrillville employees. This one is specifically changing the salary of our town manager.
So
Motion
moved.
to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pettit with a second by, I'm sorry, Mr. Hardaway made that motion?
Yeah, unless,
Mr. Hardaway, second by Mr. Minchuk, okay. For approval on second and final reading. Any discussion from the council? Hearing none, open for public comment on this ordinance. Is there any public comment on ordinance 23-16?
Shonda Flowers, 6137 Connecticut Street, Maryville. Yes, my question is, how was it that only that particular salary was brought up to consideration for the council? Is there any process with regards?
the reason why it was done like that, Mrs. Flowers, is because at the beginning of the year, well, last year when we did the budget, we had a conversation with Mr. Reardon and the Budget and Finance Group, and rather than giving $10,000 as a $10,000 raise at the beginning of the year, we split it from January, we gave $5,000 January, $5,000 now, as opposed to giving him everything at one time.
I guess my concern is, I can recall when there was a problem with the town clerk trying to give less than $5,000 and dispersing that amongst her employees, taking the hit personally. And it took forever for that to even go through. And I'm just trying to see, as we focus on the equity statement that is posted at all of the buildings, that you do your due diligence with regards to making sure that all employees and the process as to how their salaries are considered, because if you look and you do a consideration from other towns with regards to not just the town manager, if you look at all of the positions, you would probably see that there are some discrepancies or some imbalances with regards to what those salaries are, especially when you're looking at some employees make more money than some of the people who are managing people. When you consider experience, and some people who had no management experience who've worked with the town come in significantly higher in a new starting role than you do the people who have been occupying those same department positions, it is something that, instead of cherry picking one, that it may need to be a complete overhaul. And I would hope that that happens for everyone, not just a few.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other public comment on that topic? Seeing none, back to the council. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk Treasurer, roll call, please.
Mrs. Neal,
What, abstain?
Mr. Hardaway,
Yes.
Mr. Minchuk,
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak,
Yes.
Mr. Pettit,
Yes.
Mr. White,
Abstain.
and Mr. Bella.
Yes.
5 yeses and 2 abstentions.
Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to ordinance 23-17, it's ordinance of the town of Merrillville authorizing additional appropriations. Town donation job fair and town donation 4th of July. The amount requested is $15,000 and $14,500 for a total of $29,500. The amount approved was $29,500. Net effect is 0.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pettit, with a second by Mr. Hardaway for approval of ordinance 23-17 on second reading. Any discussion from the council? Hearing none, is there any public comment on this ordinance 23-17? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Neal,
Yes.
Councilman Hardaway,
Yes.
Councilman Minchuk,
Yes.
Councilwoman Uzelak,
Yes.
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilman White,
Yes.
Councilman Bella.
Yes.
7 in favor.
7 in favor, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on tonight to Resolution 23-24. It's a resolution confirming the designation of an economic revitalization area and approving the deduction from assessed value of real estate property improvements, otherwise known as Merrillville Avanti LLC.
Good evening. My name is Mike O'Connor. I'm with Holiday Properties. I'm here with Laura Small, also of Holiday Properties, the project architect for the Avanti building that we propose in Ameriplex. We're proposing to construct a 51,000 square foot industrial building with the intent of providing high quality but smaller spaces for tenants seeking space in the range from 12,000 to 14,000 square feet on average, probably 4 to 6 tenants in the building. Much smaller tenant spaces than have been developed in Ameriplex recently. So the idea is to create spaces for smaller users, smaller businesses, to attract new businesses to the town of Merrillville, to kind of benefit from the business climate that's been established in Ameriplex by a number of larger tenants. We were here on Tuesday, June 27th, and presented the project to the town council. The 51,000 square foot building is located on 98th Avenue, immediately south of the Amazon building. We have an initial tenant that we're working with, relocating, a printing company relocating from Hammond. So that's the first tenant that we've been working with. We've developed similar buildings in other communities. An example is Portage. We opened a building very similar to this in 21, and attracted a variety of tenants, one international tenant from Spain, another one from locally, and then a couple from Illinois. So it attracted a variety of businesses and generated employment of about 65 employees. Building's a little bit bigger than the Avanti building we propose. We're estimating that up to 50 employees could work in the Avanti building once completed. We're here to answer any questions about the request, the tax abatement request, and appreciate your time.
Anything else to add, Mr. Pettit?
No, Mr. President. This time I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 23-24. I think my colleague might have some questions.
Absolutely, I have some questions.
One second, Mr. White.
Second, Leonard. I made a motion.
We have a motion on the floor by Mr. Pettit.
Second.
Did you second that, Mr. White?
I did.
Seconded by Mr. White.
Okay.
Mr. White.
Yes, this question is for the gentleman there. Will you be at the job fair this coming up?
Yeah, I took note of it on July 27th. And
Yeah,
if there's an opportunity for us to be there.
Sure.
We have.
Sure. Yeah, the reason I'm asking that, sir, is because I want to see Merrillville residents hired. You said it was approximately 50 jobs. I think Sean always said, what we do, 10%. So if you can do that 10%, I'll support this 10% abatement for you.
Yeah, if there's an opportunity for us to participate on the 27th, we'd be happy to be there.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President, just a thumbnail, and Pat, interject while I'm reading your syllabus here. Again, this went to the Economic Development Committee, which is myself, Mr. Minchuk, Mr. Hardaway, Deanne Patina, and Jennifer Dauphin, with a favorable recommendation. This is a $7.4 million investment in our community, creating approximately 50 full-time jobs with an annual payroll of $2.5 million. They are going to adhere to the sliding Indiana code scale for tax incentives, whereby first year it's 100%, and then they start paying 5%, 10%, 15%, and so on. The new assessed value will be $2.4 million. Pat, is that right? Am I reading the syllabus correctly toward the bottom?
You are, that's correct.
And then an estimated gross real estate savings of $643,500. The anticipated tax incentive fee will be $96,525. Pat, you want to elaborate on that fee real quick?
Sure.
For the residents?
Indiana statute allows municipalities who award assistance such as tax abatement to impose a fee. This is something new to this town, and that fee can be up to 15%. We are at 15%. So the approximate $96,525 represents 15% of the estimated savings. And we will receive that over that 10-year period of time.
Anything else from the council?
Yes, Mr. President.
Mr. White.
Also, since this is a $7 million project that the town of Merrillville is basically giving a tax abatement for, I would like to see when they start building that, to have some Merrillville residents in the building portion of it too, not just to come there and work. I'd like to see them get some of those union-type jobs out there.
Take that a step further, Leonard. This is part of the requirement. They will either hire union contractors with this incentive or do a project labor agreement with Randy Palmatier and the trades. Right, Mike?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, that's part of the ordinance.
Agreeing with that,
And
yeah.
actually, what you're saying, Councilman White, is through the Indiana plan, through the union.
Correct.
They make sure to include minorities, including Merrillville residents.
Yep.
Thank you for elaborating. Thank you.
Anything else from the council? Hearing none. Public comment? Is there any public comment on this? Please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record, Eric, and we're happy to hear from you.
Okay, thank you. Eric January, 3031 West 58th Avenue, and it's a 10-year tax abatement. I've often talked about 10 years is just absolutely too long. 3 years, I think, is reasonable. Although the project is going to bring jobs, we do not get a direct tax benefit from those jobs. The state of Indiana gets the lit tax or the local area income tax. We get that in terms of the county, but how much of that money is actually coming to the town of Merrillville? It's great to have Merrillville residents working, but it's also great for the town to be able to get some of that money. And when we're giving away the real estate taxes, which is our major incentive, is decreasing the revenue to the town over a long period of time. We need to consider the length of time that we're doing these tax abatements. That's my major point. 10 years is too long.
Thank you.
Brian Messart, 201 East 68th Place. My biggest concern is these are developers who are creating spaces that are going to be leased to tenants. Can they legally require the tenants to hire Merrillville residents? We're giving the tax abatements for Merrillville residents to have jobs, but can we require them to lease only to people who agree to hire Merrillville residents?
And we do it as a suggestion and as a percentage.
That's like someone suggesting to me that it would be a pretty good idea for me to pay for my license plates, but if I didn't want to, I don't have to. That's how silly that is. And the idea of having tax abatements to maybe plant the seeds for a large client like Amazon or something and a couple of others, to give everybody all the time tax abatements is ridiculous, because the gentleman here very wisely said, if the town needs a place for smaller businesses, the big guys are already there. The small guys want to come and be where the big guys are. We don't need to offer them incentive. They could build this thing with no incentive and people would still come and rent that place. Why are we doing this? Why are we cheating ourselves? Not only while the town gets a portion, the 15%, what does Ross Township get? What does the fire department get? What does the school system get? You're cheating those people out of those real estate tax dollars. That's why we have to give grants to the school to build, because they're getting cheated out of. That's a quid pro quo. That's a bad deal.
Don't look at me. I'm not.
School's not affected, really. Okay.
No.
All right. Any other comments?
Call for the vote, Mr. President.
We have a call for the vote. Madam Clerk, Treasurer, roll call.
Councilwoman Neal?
Yes.
Councilman Hardaway?
Yes.
Councilman Minchuk?
Yes.
Councilwoman Uzelak?
Yes.
Councilman Pettit?
Yes.
Councilman White?
Yes.
And Councilman Bella?
Yes.
7 in favor.
7-0, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Moving on tonight to Resolution 23-25. It's a resolution in the Town of Merrillville, Lake County, Indiana, transferring monies within the 2023 budget, specifically the services officers of $21,520 and an increase of $21,520. I think that covers part of that new position in the planning and building. The net effect is 0.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pettit. Chair recognizes Mrs. Uselak for the second for approval of Resolution 23-25. So Kelly, with this, if this passes, can we then go back and do suspend the rules for the second reading on the ordinance to pay the animal control?
I don't know. We still have to, it's an appropriation because they were paying them out of
You have to
the
advertise it.
contractual. Has to be advertised and has to go to second reading.
Okay.
Because it's a new appropriation. There was no money originally appropriated for it. So anytime you do it that way, you can increase if you already got something, but when you're appropriating, you got to do it differently.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, a voice vote is fine. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? The motion carries. Moving on to Resolution 2326. It's a resolution in Town of Merrillville, Lake County, Indiana, approving a credit card and debit card user fee. The fee will be charged to each user of a credit or debit card in transactions with the Town of Merrillville. The fee will be at 3.5% for each credit or debit card transaction. This helps the town not pay for when people use a credit card for town business.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Minchuk, second by Mr. Pettit for approval of Resolution 23-26. Questions or comments from the council? Kelly, anything to add?
No, just, we promised initially coming in that we were going to make things easier for the residents and be so that they wouldn't have to just use cash or credit, or check. And most people use credit cards. We're trying to.
Debit, yeah.
Or debit. And so this makes it simpler for people to even be able to pay online and come in and be able to pay.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Moving on to the American Rescue Plan voucher summary, Mr. Hardaway.
Thank you, Mr. President. American Rescue Plan voucher for July 11th is $39,415. Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Hardaway with a second by Mr. Minchuk for approval of the ARP voucher summary as presented.
Wait 1 second.
And 1 second, we might have a correction.
That's the approval.
Yeah.
Ms. Gibson?
It's a typo.
Is the motion
Fine.
correct?
Yes.
My copy,
Everything stands.
okay. Any other discussion on the motion?
On this one, she needs to cross that out.
Yeah.
And put Rhonda's name.
Yeah.
She needs to do that.
Yeah, that's fine.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? That motion carries. Kelly. Moving on tonight to the BZA and large gathering actions, Ms. Shine.
Yes, Mr. President, we have 2 BZA actions and 2 large gathering actions. Our first action petitioner is Maisha Jones. Maisha, would you step to the mic, please? Maisha Jones is the applicant petitioner, and her request is special exception approval from Section 21-136 for daycare. Petitioner is requesting special exception approval from Section 21-136 to allow a daycare center to be located at 8374 Louisiana Street on 1.389 acres in the C3 Highway Commercial Zoning District. The proposed daycare center will occupy a 7,000 square foot building with a proposed playground area of 1,539 square feet. Chrysler's Child Care plans to provide a dynamic environment ready to respond to the diverse development needs of each child in the underserved population of Merrillville, Indiana. Our projected goal is to provide up to 99 seats for the Merrillville community. Research has shown that the Merrillville community is in need of quality daycare. CCC will partner with all local colleges in Northwest Indiana to recruit graduates in early development education programs to assist with providing quality child care in the Merrillville. Potential staff will choose CCC because of the pleasant and professional working environment that will be created. There will be 10 employees for this location, depending on the enrollment. CCC will enroll students between the ages of 6 weeks to 6 years old. Operating hours will be Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. The school will use the Frog Street and Let's Go Learn curriculum that will prepare the students for kindergarten readiness. Each classroom will be furnished with the Lakeshore learning material. The site will have 6 classrooms and 3 restrooms for children and employees. The building has 3 exits. The proposed playground will be located in the front of the building in part of the parking lot. It will be fenced with state-approved fencing and playground equipment. This is for this petitioner only, at this location only, and for this use only. Mr. President, the fire inspector has met Mrs. Jones out there to look at this. However, all daycare centers have to have municipality improvement before the state will come in and approve.
Thank you, Sheila.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion for discussion. This is in my ward.
A motion by Mr. Pettit, second by Mr. Minchuk. Open for discussion.
Ms. Jones, you're leasing this from Commercial Insights. You're taking half of the building. It says here it's 12,000 square feet.
Yes, the building.
And you're taking a little bit more than half?
Correct. It's separated by size. So the front half is an adult daycare, and the back half will be used for the child care center.
Okay, now, Sheila, the balance of this building, is this the same one that had a school, a STEM school of some type?
It had the, yes, the autism school.
That's what I thought. Okay,
Yes.
okay. And have we looked at the drop-off? I mean, how are you handling the drop-off
So we will be
of the students?
Okay, so parents will come in, and there's about 22 parking spaces on the
Mhm.
front and 22 in the back. They will be required to park in the front, exit the vehicle with their child, holding their hand, and bringing them into the facility, signing them in, and then walking out.
Okay, so no dropping like curbside
No.
along the front of the, okay, that's fine.
I think everything looks good. Knowing Maisha Jones and her husband, D'Angelo, like I have for the last maybe 20 years, she's very professional. She was the very first African-American school teacher at Salk School. So I know Maisha is very professional and she knows what she's doing, and you have my vote, okay?
Mr. President?
Mr. White.
Yeah, I did have some questions. Are we saying 12,000 feet? Because as I'm looking on the
The
petition.
total building's 12,000, right?
Yes. The
Okay, so
size-
you're going to occupy 8,000?
7,000 square foot,
A little more than half.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there's a proposed playground for 1,500 square feet?
yes.
So the total is 8,539 square feet?
That she'll be taking up. The playground has to be approved by the state, and they'll come in. It's so much, she can explain it better than me probably, but it's so much square footage per child that's on the playground. So they will come in and once they come out, they'll come in and approve that size, yes.
Okay, no more questions.
What we have to realize is also, she's not going to be only under town scrutiny, but she's also under state scrutiny.
Correct.
Because she's a licensed child care.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other discussion by the council? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, Treasurer, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Neal,
Yes.
Councilman Hardaway,
Yes.
Councilman Minchuk,
Yes.
Councilwoman Uzelak,
Yes.
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilman White,
Yes.
Councilman Bella.
Yes.
All seven in favor.
Congratulations.
Welcome to town.
Congratulations, Aisha.
Our second petitioner for the night is Alfreda Pointer. Ms. Pointer? Is requesting special exception approval from section 21-136 to allow a certified nursing assistant training program to be located at 5429 Broadway on 0.796 acres in a C2 Community Commercial Zoning District. Travail With Us LLC is an in-home care service that goes to the client's home to provide bathing, grooming, dressing, toileting, and incontinence care. They also provide meal planning, meal preparation, and feeding. A certified nurse's assistant can provide light housework, laundry, and linen change. They can also be a friendly companion to enhance socialization. The office hours of the agency will be 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., Monday through Friday. The CNA training will be Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. or 4:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. A CNA trained in basic patient care, grooming of clients, taking vital patient exercise, verbal and written communication, and transferring assistance, wheelchair to bed, and chair. The training also includes nutrition, anatomy, safety, emergency procedures, and patient rights. The classes consist of groups of 10 to 16 students. Classes of 16 contain 2 instructors, while classes of 15 or less contain 1 instructor. Training consists of 30 hours of classroom training and 75 hours of hands-on clinical training. There is parking in the rear of the building, so parking is adequate. And it is for this petitioner only, at this location only, and for this use only. And just for more clarification, Mr. President, she runs in-home care services. Her offices will be at this, but she will also be having the training for CNA.
Thank you, Sheila.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hardaway with a second by Mr. White. Open for discussion.
Yes, do you place them with employment
Yes.
after their X amount of hours of training?
Yes,
Oh, you do place them?
yes, they are placed with employment.
Oh, that's very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's great, yeah. Any other discussion from the council? Mr. White?
No.
I see a lot of papers shuffling, that's why I asked.
It's called bid whist.
Hearing no other discussion,
President Bell, I have a question for. Are you providing or assisting them with getting their clinical training?
Yes, yes.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk Treasurer, roll call, please.
Sure. Councilwoman Neal,
Yes.
Councilman Hardaway,
Yes.
Councilman Minchuk,
Yes.
Councilwoman Uzelak,
Yes.
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilman White,
Yes.
Councilman Bella.
Yes.
7-0.
7-0, motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Down.
So we have 2 larger gathering applications for approval tonight. St. Elijah Cathedral Serve Fest. The purpose of their Serve Fest is to a church fundraiser, and the location is 8700 Taft Street. The dates are July 22nd and July 23rd, Saturday from 12 noon to 12 a.m. and Sunday from 12 to 5 p.m. The event will be held on those dates. There will be approximately 300 to 500 visitors during the festival. St. Elijah will not have any outside food vendors. The hall will be closed and allow carry-out only. There will be liquor served in the designated areas on the premise. Centuria Detective Agency will provide security. There will be 4 male and 4 female toilets available, which will be maintained by Bruce Septic, Lowell, Indiana. There will be 3 dumpsters and 10 to 12 trash containers on site, which will be maintained by Ileana Disposal, Highland, Indiana. The office phone will be available to the public. All staff on site will have cell phones. There will be approximately 575 spaces available, which are accessible from a paved public street. No parking from surrounding properties or on surrounding properties, and the owners will be the owners of the surrounding properties. No parking on the properties of the other properties next door. Saturday and Sunday, there will be entertainment, and the band will play outside of the outside located. Next time, I'm going to bring my reading glasses.
Sheila, did you mention they're having security there?
They are having security. I did check with our police department on the security. They're using Centuria Detective Agency, but I did check with the police department to make sure that that was an adequate company for them to use.
So it's all-day security?
Yes, security will be there the entire time of the festival.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Mhm.
In that case, I will make a motion to approve St. Elijah's festival.
Second.
The motion by Mrs. Uselak, second by Mr. Pettit for approval of the large gathering permit application for St. Elijah. I think we do this pretty much every year, don't we, Sheila, for this?
Yes, same with our next one.
St. Sava.
Yes.
Mr. President, I just wanted to ask, when they say from 12 noon to 12 midnight,
Yes, 12 a.m.
is that going to be on the inside or is it going to be outside at midnight?
Both.
Both.
Both, they have a building.
Mm-hmm.
They also have a big pavilion that everything sits under,
Okay.
Councilman White.
Yeah, I just didn't see it in my brain. Okay, thank you. No more questions.
Thank you. Any other comments from the council? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye opposed? The motion carries, Sheila.
Okay. The second one is St. Salva Church, located at 9191 Mississippi Street. The event will be held Friday, July 28th, and Saturday, July 29th, from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m., and Sunday, July 30th, from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. Approximately 1,000 people will attend each day. The maximum amount of people allowed to attend per day will be limited by the Merrillville Police, who will be in charge of security. There will be 6 male toilets and 6 female toilets available, which will be maintained by St. Salva Church custodians. There will be 3 dumpsters and 25 trash cans on site, which will be maintained by Homewood Disposable, Homewood, Illinois. There will be no telephone service available to the public, and there will be on-site parking of 500 spaces and lawn parking of 500 spaces, which is accessible from the paved public streets. No parking on surrounding property owners' property. There will be no animals as a part of this assembly, and the entertainment will include several band, dance groups, and alcohol will be served in the designated areas.
So move, Mr. President.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pettit with a second by Mrs. Uselak for approval of the St. Sava Church large gathering permit. Open for discussion.
Well, they have it every year, and they draw a big crowd from Merrillville. That's all I got to say. It's a good fest.
Okay, anything else with the council? Hearing nothing else, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Shine.
Yes.
Is there any old business before us tonight? Any new business tonight? Moving on to public comment, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, and we allow 3 minutes for public comments.
Hello.
Hello.
1134 West 72nd Court in Maryville. This is for Mrs. Sheila. Miss Sheila, I'm still waiting for whomever to come and cut those weeds down. They are as tall as I am. It's really bad over there in that area. So can we have somebody to come and cut the grass, please? And thank
I
you.
will contact Providence tomorrow.
And I'm still waiting
So
on
you're
some-
talking about the weeds, you're talking about where they did the excavate and the grass is starting to grow up? Because I was out there to look at it. That's what you're talking about?
I don't know if that's, you calling that grass, but the weeds are like this tall. by the
Well, you
shed.
know,
I don't know
I
if
call
you
it
call it
grass.
grass or whatever, but yes, that's what I'm talking about. And I'm
It
still
used to
waiting
be grass.
on comments, on a suggestion about my pool. I'm not going nowhere about this. Mr. President, the council president, I'm still waiting on somebody to contact me about my pool. And it was not like that before they came and made that mess. So I'm still waiting on some kind of resolution. And it's been a whole year, and I'm still coming up here talking about the same stuff. It's getting old, but I'm not gonna go away, though.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else that we can do for you, actually. I think we've discussed it, and we've checked into aerial images of your pool for the last 10 years. And so I don't know if there's anything else we can do for you.
Okay, so what do I need to do? Just get my own private lawyer so I can just take care of the rest?
I don't
Because
give
it
legal
wasn't like
advice.
that.
I'm not the attorney.
Okay, well, attorney, you have any suggestions?
Okay.
Oh, you're gonna be quiet now, huh? That's okay, I got you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Will Akins, 34 Indian Trail. We were talking about the storms and all that came through, and the contractors that came through in the creek area behind Indian Trail. Who is responsible for the creek area? We still have branches, and they were creating beaver dams in the creek. There's a few residents on Deer Path who's complained about losing square footage in their backyard because the water sits. And it's just washing away. The creek is washing it away.
Will, one of the things I talked to the residents about, and you've got a split, and Matt can confirm this, from Highland Road going back to the park is a legal drain. From Highland Road going back west is owned by the lots, aren't they, Matt? Or is it, do I have it backwards? There's an easement back there on one side of Highland Road.
Yeah, I'd have to look at that.
That's on the west side.
It's on the west side.
It's on the west side. A lot of us have easements, but my concern is like the bank of the creek. I understand the easement part. We do have to mow that and all of that stuff, but I'm talking about the bank of the creek. Like, who's responsible for that? I'm quite sure you don't want the residents down in the creek.
Well, again, if it's private property, Will, we can't, Matt and his guys or Steve and his guys can't go on private property. So what I wanted to try and do after the storm and working with Joe and Matt is we're gonna have to go to all those property owners, both on Deer Path and on Indian Trail, and get enough of the easement that Matt recommends where stormwater can start taking care of that ditch properly, because we can't go on private property right now. And I talked to a lot of your neighbors through there.
Okay.
Okay?
Right.
And we'll stay on it.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Will.
Brian Messarch, 201 East 68th Place. Councilperson Neal, I want to congratulate you on your new role and welcome you. Chief Nusis, I am more than thrilled that you're going to be our police chief for a long time to come, so congratulations on that. But yes, congratulations to both of you. Ms. Gibson, when you are going to contact Mr. Berger with the verbatim, could you absolutely make sure you highlight that Councilperson Pettit said that it was his fault for improving his property and that he created his own nuisance by making his property better. Instead of dealing with that, maybe we should start dealing with the nuisance of where the Star Plaza used to be, which looks like an eyesore from I-65. But my example here is this is the communication that most residents see coming out of town council. And you don't blame a resident for something that's not even his fault. He just wanted resolution. And maybe he didn't know where to go. He's looking for help. And oftentimes people, like we just had up here, are looking for help. And sometimes it's just guidance. Who do I go to help? The Hickory Ridge people came here asking for help. And I'm sorry, that's not our problem. And then we got into a ticky-tack argument over whose ward this is and whose responsibility. Why can't we just talk about it's Merrillville? Let's take care of Merrillville. I'm tired of the communication where you're blaming residents for stuff. We need to do things differently. We need to.
Good evening, everyone. Shalana Hauser, 4248 West 77th Avenue. I'm in Ward 4 in the Foxmore subdivision. I would like to quickly bring up three brief things. First, the speed bumps that are there, I just want to say thank you. Because my children are out there playing and everybody's children in the subdivision is out there playing. And nobody should be doing 60 miles per hour through there. It's very sad. But I just want to say thank you for that. And then a part of that, if we could just get more speed bumps. Where my townhouse is positioned is right after the third one. And it seemed like because they know that's the last one, they immediately start gunning it down the street. And it seemed like it's not people who live in that subdivision, they're people that's trying to cut through the subdivision. Because I literally stand there and I watch them and they hit that corner going into the subdivision that's being built now. Number two, we do have beautiful like antique lighting out there. They're beautiful. I do just ask that if someone can come through, it seems like some of them are not working. And then my third one is actually a part of the second one, because at night, if you're out there, it tends to get very dark if you don't have any lighting. And the third concern is with the lots that are not developed yet, those developers, those people that own those lots that are sitting, they are not tending to the lots like they should be. So sometime at night, you will see coyotes cutting through there. And if you can't see through there, you don't know what's out there. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Ramin Jackson, 1300 West 90th Place. I'm here in Merrillville. Just want to give an update on the Hickory Ridge. I know it's been mentioned a few times, even tonight. But I'll make mention of there were 17 families that were displaced. And out of the 17 families, there were 5 that HUD actually helped to relocate, which left us with 12 families to assist and help in ways of their first month's rent, security deposit, and or their moving expenses. And so I want to thank publicly the community that had come together through the Urban League of Northwest Indiana, in which I'm on the board of directors and the budget and finance chair. We were able to use the Urban League to filter the money through to help these residents. And so I'm glad to report that now today I've cut about 4 more checks out for the last 4 residents that were displaced. And so I just want to make mention to that to you all. There was a process. We raised over close to $10,000 we have raised through efforts of Eric January, who donated $2,500. There were several churches that, including mine, that donated money to the effort. I wanted to publicly also thank Kamika Parker, who's in the front there. She really was tremendous in the effort of connecting the residents into a group chat to see what their needs were, so that she can pass those residents on to me, so that I can look at each of them and have them fill out an application and go through a process. And a lot of those folks, they just needed, if they may have had money for first month's rent, but maybe didn't have the security deposit, or maybe they just didn't have money to move. And we found a company that was able to move those folks for $500. I mean, where can you find that, right? There were apartment complexes that waived fees so that these residents can move and not have to worry about putting down money for a deposit and application fee and so forth. So all that stuff was going on behind the scenes, as I know you all conducting your regular daily business of the town. But these folks needed help. They got the help thanks to the citizens and residents of Merrillville and Gary and the surrounding areas. So thank you all.
Sabina Miller, 3120 West 75th Place. That is one heck of a good recap of what's going on. I appreciate the effort you put into that. Second, congratulations, Chief.
Thank you.
I have a question. Who is the employee in the department called Mississippi Street TIF? You have an employee in there? Because that employee just got a Dodge Durango with decals, and I was just wondering, because it calls the department as Mississippi Street TIF. But it doesn't say who's got the Durango. $43,000 car. Okay. Let's go to the next one.
Police car purchase, Sean? Police car.
It's on your,
Sabine, we are, the redevelopment commission through the TIF district is allowed to buy rolling stock. Public works trucks, police cars.
Police squad car.
Police squad cars, probably what you're looking at.
okay, that explains it. Thank you. All right, so when you guys were talking about the branch pickup, the first reminder I want to do is that when it's smaller branches, we can stick those in the garbage and waste management. We'll pick them up. I know I said that a few times. And they've picked mine up again. I had some storm damage too, and it's gone. But when you guys look at potentially helping seniors who may need a special pickup, I want you to make sure you include anybody who may be disabled or be on low income, because they don't really have any different scenarios usually from senior citizens potentially. So I would want that to see that expanded when you're having a working session. How can we find out what other portions of Merrillville will have those speed humps? Is there a list somewhere that we could see?
So with the speed humps, each ward is going to get one set of speed humps, which is actually 3 speed humps that run the entire width of the pavement.
Okay.
And they'll be installed in residential areas.
Okay,
And
so
once I
every
work with
ward will get one set for now.
Correct. And what we'll do is I've been working with the Chief Nucis on this and the council, whoever's in the council, to find out their most problematic areas. We evaluate that area. We try to place them strategically in the area so we can hit, more than one point. Like I said, just, Foxmore was a great example. People thought they were getting around them, or anywhere you go, you're gonna end up on Wright Street and then you're gonna hit one of them, so.
Okay. I know a lot of people around town have noticed the animal control vehicle being on its way. I happen to be behind it today, so since we have an employee in-house again, does that mean we're going to have our own shelter? Or where would the animal control now bring the animals to if they catch any?
Go ahead, Chief. So now we've been in contact with the Lake County Animal Control. We're working on an agreement, and there's also several others. One of the big problems that we're facing now is that everybody is full. So we've been working on agreements, and so far we're making good. It's coming along. That's the best way I could put it. So what we want to get an actual agreement with everybody. That way, it's in paper. This is what we're bringing. This is what we're expecting. This is what we're going to pay for.
So we're no longer looking at a third party running a shelter, but we're looking at partnering with existing shelters.
Yeah, outsourcing, correct.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Ms. Miller.
Thank you.
Last but not least, my name is Vern Hind. I'm a pioneer here in Merrillville. I'd like to thank the council for keeping an eye on Merrillville for me all these years, moving it forward. Most of the time, people up here give you a hard time. Well, I'm here to give you a present tonight. I'm a member of the Historical Society just down the road, and if you've never been there, it's open on Sundays between 2 and 4. Invite you to come down and see what your town has started out. In 1834 with the Indians, and then a guy by the name of Merrill came, and it was called Merrill Point, and then it was called Centerville, and then it was called Merrillville eventually. But our group has been working for about 6-8 months now, and we have a collage starting with 1834 with the Indians and everything. We got pictures, we got this and that, and we want to donate it for your time capsule. This is something that needs to go on I know, Rick, you may be here in 50 years, but I may not be. So I'm going to give it to you to keep an eye on it. And it's been my pleasure to come to these meetings and donate something to the efforts of Merrillville's community. And I really enjoy being a resident. And I was born in a house down on Broadway, and it's still there. So that's a tribute to some of the brick masons years ago.
Yeah.
And that's been, well,
1800.
past 80 years, so that's all I'll say.
Thank you very much, Murray. We'll get it into capsule.
Hi, my name is Ursula Peppers. I live at 1201 West 56th Avenue. And I heard Savannah talking about the speed bumps. Are we still talking about the kind where they paint and they sprinkle like salt on it? Because I live at a four-way stop and nobody stops, just me or the neighbor across the street. It's like a drag strip over there. If you want to pull into my driveway, officer, you guys could post up there. You will make a lot of money in one day right there. But we need a speed bump, a real bump that's going to mess them up or slow them down, because they won't slow down. Whatever we painted and sprinkled, it didn't work. It's just sprinkled. Okay, that's it. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve, let's get her address, please, when you...
I'll get it.
Okay.
1201 West 56.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
1201, ma'am?
1201.
1201 West 56th Avenue. It's a cross between Pierce and 56th Avenue.
Thank you, ma'am. Shonda, are you coming up to the mic? Okay. I just want to make sure before I move on here. Oh, that's all right.
Yeah. So, again, Shonda Flowers, 6137 Broadway. Congratulations, Nooses. I'm excited for you. But I have to say, representation matters. Representation matters. And for me, I am excited to see that Rhonda has been appointed not just as a woman, but as an African-American woman. And so I personally wanted to make sure that I solidify this. And so I have to share this little story. Rhonda being a mom and a wife and grandma and everything else that most women tend to do, I heard her say that she's never had her own name. She said that when she was growing up in the church, that she was referenced as her mom's daughter. As she come up to this day, people call me and my husband Mr. and Mrs. Berry because of our son. And so as you can imagine, having two children who have gone through the NFL and a successful, beautiful daughter who also does hair if you need to get an appointment. She's always referred to as their mom. And she said to me that even when her husband was a fireman, that at one point, I think the name was Pooh, that some of the firemen actually admitted they didn't know her name, and they called her Pooh, too. And so I've been seeing her, and ever since her official appointment last week, I've been referring to her respectfully as Councilwoman Rhonda. And so with that being said, I have a T-shirt. When I had the short tenure of running for position, my logo was Say My Name. And so I got you a Say My Name T-shirt in the front. And on the back, it says, Making History. Rhonda Neal, first appointed African-American Merrillville Councilwoman. So Councilwoman.
Good evening. My name is Judy Dunlap, and I live at 5462 Maryland Street. The vocation of every man and woman is to serve others. That is what you're doing and starting to do Miss Rhonda Neal. And I would like to say, as we say in sororities, you know your assignment. Show us your assignment. You can do the assignment. And at any time you think you cannot do your assignment, you know who to ask, and you know who to talk to. For he said, if you make one step, ... he'll make two. May God bless you and congratulations. And you know what I'm going to do? Thank you. Have any questions for the school board? I'm the president.
Got some questions for the school board.
Thank you, guys. So our next Plan Commission meeting is July 18th at 6:30. Next council meeting is on July 25th at 6:30. The RDC will meet on July 25th at 6:15, I'm going to say.
Yep.
And the job fair, as Mr. Hardaway announced earlier, is on July 27th from 11 to 3. 52 great companies will be there on display, guys. So if anyone's looking for a job, you know of someone looking for a job, let them know. Have them come out to the job fair. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
I got to be quick on the motions here.
Thank you all.